Do you remember how, once upon a time, everyone was talking about digital transformation? Seems like ages ago, but well, it's still quite relevant today. As new technologies emerge in a blink of an eye and old ones keep upgrading, organizations need to continuously adapt their products, services, or operations to stay competitive. But what organizations sometimes tend to forget or overlook is that the goal of adopting any technology is to improve the user experience, whether that's customers or employees. So, if the end user isn't on board or doesn't understand how to make the most of it, even if it's the best technology in the market, your digital transformation won't be that successful. And how does that fit into the cloud transformation journey so many organizations are going through? That's the subject of this Tech Talk episode, the third of our cloud season. Frantz Dorilas, Digital Transformation Senior Manager, and Quentin Bechoux, Cloud Transformation Manager at PwC Luxembourg, are our fantastic guests for today. So, let's jump right into it. Welcome to a new episode of Tech Talk. This is episode 3 of our cloud season, and this one is called the one on cloud transformation from the user perspective. Right, Armin?
That's right.
Yes, and thank you again for Quentin to be here with us today, and Frantz as well.
Thank you for having me.
And Armin, the introduction is yours.
So we usually tackle digital transformation from a technical perspective, but what is your experience when it comes to the user's point of view?
So it's true that this episode will be a bit less technical than the previous two. It's true that usually when you hear about digital transformation, it's usually paired with a lot of technical jargon and references. We kind of tend to lose sight of the fact that the transformation is needed to make sure we leverage technology to improve the user experience as a whole. So, the new tools will be less impactful if the end users and, of course, the IT admins don't understand how to make the most of them. So it's an important factor in the success of your digital transformation. It doesn't matter if you use the latest, greatest technology. If your end users are not on board, peak productivity offered by these tools will not be reached. From what we've seen from our experience through past projects, the ones that work out best aren't the most technologically advanced ones, but rather the ones that are focused on user experience, that use available technologies to tailor to their end users' business needs.
Okay, I see. And I mean, makes total sense. How easy or important it is to find a balance between technology and user experience?
So, to me, there isn't a one answer to this question, unfortunately, because very often the technical part of the project, so when we're talking about the implementations of the new tools, the replacement of current tools in the digital workplace, all of this is heavily linked to the understanding that we have of the business processes. So we need to have a clear view on how the end users have used their tools so far and whether this will be the most efficient way to go forward with the future tools. So this change in ways of working can be, can prove to be difficult to adopt for some users more than others. So when we're doing these types of projects, we need to realize that we are dealing with multiple individuals, having each developed their own way of organizing their workflows. In that respect, it's thus important to introduce a comprehensive training program to show the added value of the transformation. So if we're talking in an ideal world, technology is used to accommodate everyone's way of working so that their experience is satisfactory. It is unfortunately not always possible to cater to each individual user with their way of working with the tools, but it's possible to teach them to see how to best use the ones that will be at their disposal.
Does this also cover the experience for the customer's IT team?
Yeah, indeed. The way your team will manage the daily operation in the cloud environment will be really different than what they were used to do on premises. Let's take a few examples on this. Previously, on-premise, usually all companies have the VMware infrastructure. So you have the hardware that is already there and plugged. So this means that every time that you are creating or starting a new VM, it will not cost you any money. You will not consume any more resources or electricity, etc. In the cloud, it's not true at all. I mean by that every time that you are starting a VM in the cloud, you will pay an hourly rate or with a reserve instance, spot instance. And the price will also depending on the size of the VM. So you see, it's really a mindset change that you have for virtual machine. This means that the IT administrator, IT operators, they will have to manage the scalability of the resources. By that, I mean shutting down a VM at night if you are not using it. If there are test or dev environment that you do not need over the weekend, you just need to shut down the VM to save some money. Same for the scale out and scale in. If you have like peak hours with more resources needed, you will scale out your infrastructure. And then during off-peak hour, you will reduce the number of VM or resources that you need. This will also save you money. So you see, by that, it's really the main benefit of the cloud. And this is something that you have to understand to really have some cost optimization in the cloud. The last thing is that you will have the shared responsibility also with the cloud provider. This means that where you are used to manage the hardware and, for example, the patching of your VMware server, this will be fully managed by the cloud provider. So it's really also a change in the way you will operate your IT.
Yeah. So I agree with what Quentin explained. I think that here again, it's important to understand that we need to get the IT team on board as well. Because of course, once the transformation project in itself is done, they will be the ones that will tend to daily operations on the new platform. So it really makes sense that they are also prepared for that task beforehand. And that's why it's important for them for us to help them understand the new ways of managing the environment in case it's vastly different from what they've done so far. In terms of helping them, I mean, you will have to make sure that they are involved in the design process for the new platform, that they understand the value behind it, and that we introduce them to the way the new environment will need to be taken care of. So as a derivative, it comes up that they will need some upskilling in the new technologies that we will introduce into the environment. So anything surrounding the platform so that they can take over once we have reached the end of the support period.
All right. Could you elaborate on the support period for those who aren't familiar with the concept?
Of course. So a project, once you have started it doesn't just abruptly end after the implementation of the new platform. Instead, there is kind of like a transition period, and this transition period has some purposes. So we need to be able to iron out any unforeseen kinks, meaning once we have done the project, there may be some small things that create, let's say, a decrease in productivity, so that we need to make sure that gets out of the productive environment. So we will need to maybe do small iterations to fix that. We need also to make sure that the customer IT team has the knowledge to take over. So here we're talking about the handover part. We will do the project, we introduce new technologies, but we need to also make sure that they can master them, that they can handle them on a daily basis. And then after that, we need to be able to compare the measured KPIs, so key performance indicators, based on what we had before introducing the new tools into the environment. So this is the only way we can make sure that the delivery of the project meets expectations.
Yes, and in addition to that, from the operational point of view, when you are ready to move to the cloud and you have some new applications that are migrated into the cloud, this means that you will still have to do some improvement in your landing zone, for example. And I'm taking some point that I covered in the previous podcast. But again, the landing zone is a continuous improvement. So your governance that you put in place, the policy, the security, you see all the landscape will need to evolve with the cloud. All the services that the provider are giving you access in the cloud, you have new services, let's say every week, every month. But they are also sometimes shutting down some services. So you really need to follow carefully what is in the pipe of your cloud provider and act accordingly. Also the monitoring again of your cloud. It will be a daily job. But by that I mean the cost management, the resource management, the log management. It's really key services you need to put a key focus on that to ensure that everything is well managed into the cloud.
That's very interesting. And are you seeing any other impacts for the IT teams aside from this?
Yes, sure. There are something that you were not doing maybe on premise or less than that is the infrastructure as a code. To benefit again from the cloud features, implementing the infrastructure as a code is really important. This will allow you to deploy your resources really quickly, to manage them, and also to reduce the human error that you could have in your infrastructure. So it will also improve the security of it. The use of the cloud native services instead of the on-premises legacy technology will also require an upscaling of people, IT teams and user, but also a mindset change, as I said. It will be completely different in the day-to-day usage. Again, the way that you will monitor your workload is slightly different. Cut, Paul. The way you will monitor your workload is slightly different. I will take a quick example here. You have a resources and a node is crashing. The monitoring tool from the cloud will be able to identify this crash and trigger a function that will recreate the resource. It could be an EC2 instance, VM, or managed services from the cloud provider. So this means that you won't really take care of what caused the crash, because you will have this trigger automatically that will recreate a new node to your application. When you compare to the cloud previously, when you had that kind of issue, you had to investigate, then shut down the VM, start a new one, reconfigure everything, join your cluster. So you see, it's really different, and it's another key benefit of the cloud.
Perfect. So my famous question.
Yes. Or do you want me to ask this time? I mean, I don't know.
Go ahead, Carla.
Okay. So we don't have any other questions, but what is the key message that you want people to take away from this episode? What are your closing words?
If I can go first, Quentin, if you don't mind. So, usually when we talk about, like I said, we're talking about digital transformation projects. So that means that there is a lot that will change during this migration period. So it can be daunting for companies to think about uprooting the way they do things without taking a hit on productivity. This is important because it's important for us that when we do these type of projects, we keep the user experience point and center. And we need to understand that the delivery is built around this. So making sure that they feel comfortable with the new environment we will put at their disposal, so that they can keep doing their work in an efficient way. For me, if there's one thing to take away from this episode, it would be that it's never too early to start planning your digital transformation. If you want the best chances to succeed, thinking ahead is one of the big steps here.
I like that. It's never too early.
I like that.
Oh, yeah.
On my side, I will close this episode by saying that you really need to not underestimate the cost of the migration from the people point of view, because here we are not so about the tech for today, but more about the people. But so involving them, user and IT team, from the very beginning of your cloud transformation project is really keen to the succeed of it. So the training, again, it's really important. People and also IT team. This will, in my opinion, reduce the friction that you can have. And you know that, like us, you don't really like the change in something new when you are not used to it. So by embedding all the people in the project from the beginning, giving them the training to understand the benefit of the change, I think it's really key.
Yeah, it's only human not to like change, right?
Exactly.
We're always very resistant, but these are very good points. Anything else you want to add, Armin?
No, I just find it very interesting from the human perspective. I mean, we have a lot of different guests on the podcast, and I think we talk about a lot of different technologies.
Yes,
but it always comes down to the user experience and actually the either the employee or the customer experience, because at the end of every screen, every interaction, there is a human being. So
Exactly.
All business is people business. So
I think, the added value of every company is the users, basically, because, they will be supporting all the business processes. So the more they, feel comfortable with what they're doing, and the better a chance you have of having your productivity, at a high level.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Again, thank you guys for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
And that's all for today. This is TechTalk, technology made simple over a cup of coffee. Don't miss out on any future episodes by hitting subscribe. Thank you for listening, and until the next episode.